Hello everyone and welcome to the post-race podcast after the IndyCar race of Alabama. It was a brilliant race. We saw a lot of action and James and I are here today again to go through the race and our takeaways for you lot because it's become a bit of a tradition now and I don't think we couldn't do this anymore. So yeah, welcome back James. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Dylan said brilliant race. I'd like to disagree. I felt it had potential, but I felt there was more. There was stuff left on the table here in Birmingham today. But it was interesting nonetheless, if not the most gripping race. But yeah, let's get into the Grand Prix of Alabama.
Yeah, so we had an exceptionally clean start from all the drivers. Obviously, we had to begin the race on lap 2 because we didn't quite get into formation well enough on lap 1, or so the stewards didn't think so. So we had to go around again and wait until lap 2 to get going. But once we did, it wasn't a disappointment. We saw Callum Ilott make a few positions into turn 2, I believe, straight up into 8th place. So fantastic start from Callum Ilott. I audibly shouted at the telly because I was very, very happy for him. What do you make of that, James?
Yeah, good start. Not Herta. Ilott up 3. We'll get on to Colton Herta. It feels like he's like a magnet to everything we talk about. Yes, Callum Ilott up 3. Joseph Newgarden down 3. He was on the black tyres off the start, so he kind of really struggled with that. But yeah, Callum Ilott up 3 after a super qualifying. It felt like there was more left on the table as well after Ericsson's crash in qualifying, which we don't talk about, but at least the new shirt's pretty cool. I rate that.
Yeah. Well, show him.
If anyone's noticed.
Show him your Ericsson shirt. Lift it up.
There we go. Marcus Ericsson.
That's how much of a fan.
Yeah, with the Husky chocolate as well. Very, very new. This is the first time I've worn it, and 12th and 12th. So is it a 12th magnet? We'll find out.
No.
But yeah, Ilott up 3, Newgarden down 3, and then it kind of settled down until Marcus Ericsson himself. I was listening to his radio. There was a bit of umming and ahhing, and do we go for it? And they were like, yeah, we go for it. He was sick of the sight of Jack Harvey's rear end, went for it, pitted on lap 11 into the 3-stop, and ended up behind Jack Harvey's rear end again. So that was fun.
Yeah, no.
But yeah.
I was going to say, yeah, so the first stop was on lap 11, and that was with Ericsson. And then we saw some chaos upon leaving the pits with Romain Grosjean and Colton Herta having a pretty intense battle between teammates, of course, into turn 1. I think both drivers, Herta tried to go down the inside when there was barely a gap, but it was a fantastic battle to watch. I was listening to Grosjean's radio at the time, actually, and he wasn't very happy with Herta at all. He was kind of having a little bit of a moan to his team, but it was brilliant racing, so I can't complain, really. And then race kind of settled down a bit again. I get what James means when he says that it was when he says it wasn't thrilling. I thought it was a brilliant race, but there were periods of nothingness, to be fair, until lap 32.
I don't expect.
Sorry.
So I was just going to say, I don't expect every lap to be high octane, but it just felt like there were extensive periods where all follow the Rosenquist train. Up until about lap 60. We should probably talk about, eventually, how he went from 6th to 16th.
Yeah.
And it was all follow the Rossi train for a while as well. I don't expect every lap to be high octane, but there were points where it was quite sedate. But if you're a PATO Award fan, you won't mind that, as we'll find out. But eventually, lap 32. What happened, Dylan?
Oh, Callum Ilott having a brilliant race until he makes a mistake whilst fighting Castro Neves, I believe. Right round the outside, hits the grass down probably the hardest section of the track and just can't really do a lot from there, canes it down into the gravel, which was such a shame. I was really, really rooting for him this weekend because he had a lot of pace in practice. However, it is all about learning in IndyCar, and unfortunately this was one of those days for Ilott where that he's not going to want to remember. However, there are definitely positives for Juncos to take with them after Barber because they've proven that Ilott can rinse some pace out of that car. So yeah, there's certainly a team to watch going forward. I think they'll be strong at other road courses in the season. So it's uphill for Ilott from here. However, very, very unfortunate and broke many British hearts, I'm pretty sure. So my ring light's just fallen if you wanna continue talking, James.
Right, yeah. So I have to say, what I was then going to talk about in terms of why I think more was left on the table is that Ilot's crash incident basically did what Ericsson did in qualifying.
Yeah.
Ilot's incident came basically 5 laps too late. If that had come earlier and we'd have had a yellow flag, then we'd have had the 3 stoppers out the front, we'd have had the 2 stoppers at the back having to make their stops, and it wouldn't have, I say killed the dynamic of the race, because it didn't. There was still some good stuff afterwards, but they really did eventually kill off the 3-stop strategy, which had already been sort of tampered with a little by us doing an extra lap behind, under yellow flag conditions right at the beginning. So I just feel like there was just more left on the table. I'm not hating on the race because I watched every single second of it because why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
But I just felt there was a little bit more left on the table, and we could have had another yellow. Helio Castro Neves in the month of May, looking to start it on a high as he pursues a record 5th Indianapolis 500 win. He didn't get off to the best of starts in May, did he, Dylan?
No, he didn't. Behind Jimmy Johnson, trying to lap the Chip Ganassi car into the same section as Ilot's spin, just hits the curb way too hard and basically propels himself into the rear end of Jimmy Johnson's car, sending him into the gravel. And I believe he got a drive-through penalty for that, which wasn't what Castro Neves would have been wanting to see on his dash, I think. They see it on their dash?
No, he just had to swap with Jimmy. He didn't have to drive through the pits. He just had to give the position back, essentially.
Was it not
which
drive-through?
I was shocked by. He didn't get a drive-through, no, because he was only 6/10 behind Jimmy Johnson's rear a couple of laps later. So they discussed that, but he didn't actually get the penalty.
They initially gave him a drive-through, though, didn't they?
Townsend Bell talked about it. I don't think they gave it to him in the end.
That's not me being an idiot. I'm just recounting what the commentators said. So don't shoot me. I'm just a messenger.
And it's lucky you were able to hear that because we couldn't hear much of it.
Ah, true.
Storms in Birmingham meant that it sounded like they were talking on walkie-talkies for most of the race. I had to check it wasn't my telly. Dylan checked it wasn't his telly.
Exactly.
But yes, here in the UK we got a lot of the Sky Sports F1 commentator in London. But if we move on from a little Rosenquist train, when Rosenquist pitted on lap 60 and everyone else did, we then got a pretty decent last 30 laps. If Dylan, you want to take us through a bit of that, mainly PATO award out of the pits.
We did. We got a fantastic move. I'd say it was move of the season so far. Yeah,
I back that. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe Newgarden right on the last lap in Texas, but you weigh them up. They're both different, but they're both excellent. But yeah, I back that.
Fantastic move from Pato O'Ward around the outside, both on cold tyres. O'Ward just slingshots down the outside of VK, right round the outside. VK nearly creamed into the side of him, as James would say. But yeah, no, made the move round the outside, which was fantastic. Definitely move of the race. I'd say move of the season. And obviously gave O'Ward the win in the end. It was the race-winning move, so kind of elevates how important the move was as well. So fantastic from Pato O'Ward. It's the Pato we saw a lot of last season that we haven't seen so far this season. So that's brilliant to see. I'm sure we'll be talking about that more later. But yeah, no, loads happened in the stint. There was Herta charging through the pack. Grosjean was stuck behind Newgarden for quite a bit. However, once he managed to get past the Penske driver, he managed to get past the other cars in front of him pretty quickly. So Newgarden was the cork in the bottle for Grosjean for quite a while, and was probably the reason that Grosjean wasn't up with Herta when he spun. So James, I'll let you speak about that.
Yeah, well, just before Herta spun, Scotty Mclaughlin, who was sat in third in a really good position because after, do we call it a rocky Long Beach Grand Prix for Scott McLaughlin? It wasn't perfect for our then championship leader, was it? But essentially, yes, it was just a disappointing bit from Scott McLaughlin. But then, yeah, Colton Herta, over ambition, maybe ambition over adhesion, as Martin Brundle would say. It was optimistic to say the least. Got caught on the curb and was round. He was lucky he didn't stall it because that would have been maybe 20 more points thrown away.
Yeah.
But after disaster in Long Beach, the last thing Colton Herta needed was another unforced error, and that was exactly what he got, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, exactly. And well, he made contact with the rear of McLaughlin as well. And I was on board with Herta on my phone on the app. It's going to look like we're just shilling the app constantly in these podcasts now because we constantly talk about...
It's good, though. It's brilliant. Is good.
You can see all the onboards, all the team radios of the drivers who have...
How much push to pass they've got left,
exactly.
What tyres they're on, lap times, where they're on the track. Oh, it's thrilling. It's so much better than the Formula 1 one. I love the immersive experience.
Yeah, and then we saw Rinus VK drop off from the back of Alex Palou, who managed to get past him after his stop. It's a bit disappointing for VK at the end of the race. He controlled the entire race, looked assured, and didn't quite manage to bring home the bacon, if you'd like to put it that way. But yeah, no, brilliant drive from PATO Award. We saw obviously PATO from Palou, so last year's championship contenders, first and second. So it seems like things are returning to normal for McLaren and Chip Ganassi, which is good to see because they've been off it at the start of the season. And then we had a pretty feisty battle between Grosjean and Rahal towards the end of the race. If you'd like to speak about that one, James.
Yeah, well, just our last little bit from the race, of course, PATO did win. But those last few laps, there were a few radio exchanges after Grosjean and Rahal made contact into turn 5. I would say the first one was ambitious from Grosjean, and the contact maybe, it was unfortunate. The second one was less unfortunate. I don't like to throw the term out deliberate, but he gave him a nice little friendly tap just to remind him that he was still there. I think that's how we put it.
I'd say the thing is, I'm not too sure because you can see tyre marks. Grosjean left tyre marks because he lost the rear on the exit of the corner, and it's the kind of corner that kind of cambers around a little bit. So Rahal was taking the line of the corner whilst Grosjean was trying to recover from a loss of the rear end. So I'm not sure, I wouldn't call it deliberate. I think it's the kind of thing that happens in a flash. However, I can understand it looks deliberate, but I think it's the kind of thing that just happens too quickly. Grosjean's just trying to keep control of the car, so I wouldn't penalise that in any way whatsoever. You can probably see below me now that there is a Grosjean car, so you can tell that I'm a bit of a Grosjean fan. So I'll shut my mouth now. I
wouldn't penalise it, but Graham Rahal did go over to Grosjean after the race just for a nice friendly chat. I wouldn't
use the word friendly at all. No, Graham Rahal. He was not happy at all. His interview after the race was fiery. But yeah, no, I think I don't want to offend any Rahal fans out there, but I'm not a fan of Rahal's personality at all. It's feisty for sure. And I know lots of people out there will like that, but I feel like he over-exaggerates a lot when he's on the receiving end. That's just my opinion. If you disagree, let me know in the comments.
Yeah, and so PATO took the win, Palou in second, but let's move on to big race takeaways. And where better to start than the month of May? It is the 1st of May today, and of course, 2 weekends' time, we've got the Indy Grand Prix, and then we've got IndyCar qualifying, which has been tweaked for the 500, and then we have the 500 on the 29th of May. And what I was going to say is it is more crucial than ever this year because we have 8 drivers, maybe 9 drivers with over 80 points now. So there's 9 drivers within 60 odd points of each other, which sounds like a lot, but with 164 points on offer, 164 points, maybe a little bit more.
It's a lot.
Well, because Indy points are doubled, qualifying gives you plenty of points for Indy. 164 points on offer. Things can change in a flash.
Yeah.
And with 8 people in charge, I feel like whoever takes control of the rest of May is going to be in really, really, really good stead for the rest of the season. Because even someone like Herta on 79, I've not included him, maybe he's 10th or 9th. Ericsson 84, VK on just over 100 now, Grosjean just over 100, and then Palou leading the championship, our 3rd championship leader on 144. Yeah. Lots and lots can happen in May. And I feel like it's more crucial than ever before this year.
Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree. It's going to be an awesome month for IndyCar. There's going to be a lot to talk about, and eventually culminating in the Indy 500, which annoyingly comes right in the middle of my exams. So that's
mine.
Yeah, that's not going to be too fun, which is really, really frustrating because I think James and I were planning on watching it together and do a live post-race podcast, but I don't think that will be possible given the fact that we'll be doing our A-levels. So that's pretty frustrating, but the next race takeaway, unless you want to talk about the month of May more?
I mean, I was just going to say, yeah, I have 2 exams the Thursday and then the Friday before the Indy 500. So I'm just going to get those out of my mind, and then it'll be 500 time on the Sunday.
I'm pretty sure I have one on the Monday. On the Monday after.
Ooh.
So I can't even enjoy the Indy 500 that much. Damn it. Anyway, next takeaway, PATO back on the bull. Something that we haven't seen at all this year. We've seen some very, very, very mediocre performances from the McLarens. But no, PATO is back, which is good to see. Hopefully he can begin to mount a championship charge, because this is not the way he would have wanted to start his season whatsoever. So yeah, PATO, we're seeing some of the form that we saw last season, and hopefully he maintains this throughout. So that's all I have to say on PATO. Over to you, James.
Yeah, and talking of, PATO Award's been on and off like a light switch this year. If we want to talk about Mr. Consistent, Will Power, 19th in qualifying, 4th in the race.
Yeah, fantastic.
What a remarkable drive. Made that 2-stop work a treat. Obviously helped massively by the caution. But still, that way he would have been staring down the barrel of an 11th or a 12th without the yellow flag. But you can't discount the guy. He's finished on the podium once, 4th, 5th, 4th, if I'm right. And he's now sat less than 10 points off the championship lead.
Yeah.
And he talked about how much he's been improving on his mental strength, because he's physically good. He knows he's a good driver, but it's that resilience that I feel like he's been lacking a little bit. I mean, last year he was qualified in the back row for the 500 last year.
He nearly didn't make it, I'm pretty sure.
Exactly. So that's the type of thing where he's saying, yeah, I've got to come back from that. And I mean, wow. He is looking so strong in terms of just consistency. He made his moves, he picked his battles, and that is how you want to win the IndyCar. I had a little look at Pallou's championship last season. There were 4 races where he was outside the top 8, and people like if I'm going to talk about Ericsson because I want him to win the championship. Ericsson's had 3 races where he's been outside the top 8. And the 9th in St. Petersburg was unfortunate. Long Beach was just a clown moment, and I'm still not over it. And then this one, again, really frustrating. And if you want to win the championship, these are the ones where you've got to turn those 9ths into 6ths, those 12ths into 7ths, and then it's all the points matter. And Will Power is just showing, what a remarkable run this is.
Definitely. I'd put him as my driver of the day today, hands down. Not necessarily because of any crazy moves or anything. Although he did make a nice overtake on Scott Dixon, I believe. Fantastic, consistent race from Will Power in the Penske, which is something like Will Power and consistency have never been in the same sentence together. So it's amazing that we're seeing it for the first time this year. And I just have to say that he's the most consistent driver so far. So, yeah, fantastic from Power so far this season.
Yeah, absolutely. And then again, the opposite of actually making it to the checkered flag in one piece, Colton Herta. Do you fancy finishing a Grand Prix without ending up backwards?
Yeah.
I know it's a tall order, but he messed up qualifying, messed up the race, messed up in Long Beach.
Although qualifying wasn't his fault particularly. It was...
No, it wasn't, but it was a strategic error. They basically gambled.
Yeah,
and
it was the team who called it.
The problem with gambling is most people end up losing money from it. So, yeah, Colton Herta, you talked about in your video how he was going to be a contender. Well, it's not looking that way at the moment. But maybe his time will come in the 500. He's not been great on ovals, but maybe this is the one.
Yeah, perhaps. And one last big race takeaway, Chevrolet. They have got 4 for 4 at the moment. We haven't actually seen a Honda win this season, which is something that I find pretty crazy, actually. So, yeah, Chevy are definitely taking the reins of the championship this season. And, yeah, no, Honda not necessarily seem to be lacking, but haven't quite got the pace for the win at the moment. So we'll have to see how they do going into the month of May. I honestly don't think Chevy will do 5 for 5. I think the next race will be won by a Honda, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I was going to say the Honda it doesn't look that different. Palou, one more lap, Palou wins in St. Pete.
Yeah, true.
Ericsson's given it a good go in Texas. It doesn't look that different. Palou, so I don't know. I reckon Alex Palou will deliver the first win for them, but we'll see what happens.
Anyway, yeah, no, I disagree.
Should we give it a predictions?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's give it a predictions. Right, pole position. You go first this week.
Pole position, Romain Grosjean. I reckon.
fanboy.
No, I'm not saying that because I'm a fanboy. I'm saying that because he got pole position around here in a Dale Coyne racing car. So I think in an Andretti, Grosjean's a pretty good shout for the pole, and I'm going to say the win. This is the first time that I've not gone pole to third. So I'm going to say
you've just said Chevy won't win. Oh, no. Sorry. Andretti's Honda. Sorry, I'm just struggling. It's been a long day.
We just said that at the same time. So I'm going to say Grosjean for the win. I'm going to say, I'm going to say. This is tricky, actually. I don't know how to go about the Indy GP. So Grosjean for the win. I'm going to put maybe Mclaughlin in second and O'Ward in third. That's what I reckon.
Interesting. Can we add a section called Surprise of the Race? Because I've got someone right up my sleeve
Yeah,
who I
sure.
think is going to deliver a top 5. Who's going to... All right, so my pole position... my pole position, I would have said Romain Grosjean as well. I think he will be on pole. It's a Formula 1 circuit.
Yeah.
And then, I jinxed Ericsson by saying he wouldn't finish in the top 3. Then I jinxed him by saying he would. So Ericsson's going to win the Indy Grand Prix from Grosjean in second and O'Ward in third. Right?
Okay, fair enough.
Ericsson is going to win the Indy Grand Prix. And then my surprise of the race, I think Kyle Kirkwood will finish 6th.
You reckon?
I reckon Kyle Kirkwood... Things will come good for him. I really like his... Yeah, I've just
He's had a long day.
It's been a long day. But I reckon Kyle Kirkwood will finish in the top 6. There we go, okay. I've said it.
Fair enough. My surprise is going to be Callum Ilott. Maybe I'm just too hopeful, but I think he'll convert his decent momentum from Barber to the Indy GP, which again is a very kind of... It's a circuit that has a very European nature, because obviously it was a Formula 1 track. It's a very... It's more like a Formula 1 circuit than anything else we see in IndyCar, in my opinion, because you couldn't really run Formula 1 cars around, say, Long Beach. It would be too tight, St. Pete. It wouldn't work for F1. However, Indy GP would. I'm going to go Callum Ilott as my surprise driver. That's all we have to talk about today. It's been a pretty long podcast, but a pretty long podcast for a pretty decent race. Thank you very much to James for coming along again as per usual. Do you want to share anything?
I don't think so. I think it's been a super race, and super race for what it should have been, and I'm looking forward to the month of May. That's the main thing. Yeah. It should be super.
Yeah, same. Anyway, thank you all very much for watching as per usual. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all in the next one. But until then, take care, and thank you very much for watching.